Now, just to steer off a little bit from the topic of the budget, there's some concerns about a 10 million US dollars being paid to lawyers by the CGX. This was under the previous administration. What are some of your thoughts about this, and what in terms of that money being paid directly?
Well, I say kudos to CGX if they did. Well, actually, we heard that they paid 10 million US. I say kudos. I think Guyana is grateful. We're not a rich nation. We came up with against a reasonably aggressive neighbor, and they helped us out when help is needed. But I think the concern here is with the statements I think Mr. Jagdeo made either today or yesterday, and which have been reported on a number of other media, which is trying to equate the monies that they receive from CGX. Or no, he's saying that you cannot equate both. And his argument is because CGX paid the money directly to the lawyers. Well, I hope he's misquoted, because if he wasn't, then it will show an ignorance of how accounting is done in a country. Regardless whether you receive the money or not. Let's backtrack a bit. CGX might have been an interested party in the arbitration, but they were not a direct party. They might have been thrown out of the waters. It could have been any other investor who was there at the time who would have been thrown out. And of course they had an interest. But the reality is Suriname and Guyana went to the arbitration, and therefore if lawyers were paid, it means they were paid to do the business of Guyana, which means that Guyana received 10 million US, and they used it to pay lawyers to prosecute their case in the court. So that 10 million, regardless whether it was paid directly to Guyana or paid directly to the lawyers, has to come into the accounts of the government. That was never done, because there's no way they can show us what we call a dummy transaction, where the money actually came in and reflected on the inflows of foreign inflows, and went out back as reflected in, say, our current expenditure on the other services purchase, which means consultancy services. So our accounts would have been 10 million poorer. And contrary to what he's saying, the accounts for those years would have been understated by 10 million US dollars. Compare this with what we did with the 18 million. The 18 million is in a special account at Bank of Guyana. It's there because it's designed for a special purpose. Whenever that special purpose is activated, the monies will go into the consolidated fund. It will first go to the consolidated fund. We will come to the Parliament here and get a supplementary budget to pay whoever we have to pay, whether it's lawyers, map drawers, researchers, whatever, by way of consultancy services. So it will come back out, pass out back through our estimates, okay? So when the money is going into the consolidated fund, the actual foreign currency will be sold to Bank of Guyana. That will increase the Bank of Guyana's reserves immediately. And Bank of Guyana will credit our consolidated fund with the equivalent in Guyana dollars. At the same time, we will come to Parliament for the identical sum, so that it will pass out back. You see? And that money then will be used to purchase back foreign currency, to pay the lawyers, pay the researchers, and whatnot. Completely different. Ours will be highlighted in our accounts. In the case of the CGX, it never entered our accounts. Regardless whether it was paid directly to Guyana or not, it has to come into accounts, because it's money given to Guyana, regardless whether you receive it in your hands or whether it was paid on your behalf. Because think about it, if you didn't get the 10 million, then Guyana would have to find $10 million to pay the lawyers, and Guyana would have been 10 million poorer. But instead we were 10 million richer, because we didn't have to go into our reserves to find money to pay the lawyers. So I will want to tell Mr. Jagdeo, he has to be careful when he's talking about the accounts of Guyana.